All right, guys, so I thought I'd make a quick video. This is my baby here. You guys haven't seen it before. Mini tubbed and whole deal. And so I'm working on this Jeep. This is for a pretty special person in my life. And so I told them that I would take care of this rust issue that they were having. And so I hand fabricated all these pieces because you can't get them. You guys seen, I put some pictures, whatever. And this is the piece I made. That's 22 gauge steel, I believe. I just got a big piece here that I just pull from, 4x8 sheet. Cut all that out, all the rust, and since they don't make the pieces, I figured I'd make my own pieces. And I welded that in real nice. I went ahead and seam sealed it with 3M seam sealer. It's the bare metal seam sealer. So I taped that off, pulled my tape up, seam sealed it, went back over, painted it. So that will make sure, because if you're ever gonna have rust, the rust is gonna attack your welds first, especially if they're not super smoothed out and whatever else. So you need to make sure that you grind those and get them, make sure there's no pinholes and all that. There's nothing in this. I put a red light behind it, made sure there was no pinholes, and then I seam seal it. When you can't see it, you can do that. Like up here, I won't be able to do that, but it's gonna have primer and paint and everything else over it, so it's not a big deal. But the inside, I will come back and seam seal over that weld. The very least, you wanna put epoxy or some kind of paint or something over that weld to make sure that the moisture doesn't start attacking it, because it will. So I'm gonna show you real quick and easy how I make this stuff. You get your piece of that scrap, like I said, and you can see my patterns here. That's where I built, this is how I built the other one. But take your piece of poster board and lay this piece out on it and just trace it out. I just lay it over, trace it out, lay it over this side, trace it out. It had this rusted off, but it had that, and then this piece here. And then I go ahead and put my lines about where it's gonna be bent, so you can tell. Actually, let's make it a bit better like this, because that's how I made it. But yeah, basically you're just doing, and it's pretty simple. I mean, if you took art class, or even if you didn't, it's pretty self-explanatory. Mark where you're gonna have your bends. This was bent over that way. So what you do is you cut your piece off and just take something and flatten it out. This was bent down like that. And you can see the line there. So that'll be bent back over. And let me grab a stand real quick. Try not to make this video super long. So yeah, when you get your piece, you're just gonna transfer this to a piece of steel, cut it out. You can use these. I've got shears, the shears here. If you don't have those, you can, let's say you can use these. You can use an air saw, buzz it out. Whatever you can use to get that working. Hopefully I'm in a camera frame there anyway. So I'll bring you back and show you how I do this, but like, I don't have a metal brake. Let's see if that's showing that. Yeah. So this is what I've done. I just took a piece of steel. I cut a sharp edge here. Got a piece of aluminum here. Take a couple of C-clamps. Take your metal and put it in there to where you're gonna actually bend it. I mean, and this is clearly not the best scenario, but you do what you gotta do. And eventually I will get a metal brake, but I just don't have one. I have a bead roller, but I don't have a metal brake yet. So anyway, you tighten these down real good. And then you just take your metal, because this is just really thin sheet metal. You're gonna take it, it's gonna be flat, and you can even take a bar or something like that if you don't have, you know, when it's flat, if you don't wanna use your fingers, and just get close to it and then bend it. Just bend it up. And once you get it bent up, now this was already bent, so it's gonna be easier. But once you get it bent up where you want it, then take you something flat like this here or whatever you have. You could even use this probably. And to get that edge sharper, just put it up against your part here. Take your hammer, and where's my hammer? Anyway, my body hammer's over there. But anyway, you're gonna take and you're just gonna basically do that and get it formed out the way you want it. And I'll show you as I go, because I'm gonna build this basically. But I just thought I'd show you, it's real simple to do this, and a lot of people are like, well, you can't buy, and you can't buy these parts, but you can make them. And it's really not that hard. Just some common little, whatever you can create, you know, probably a lot better ways than this. But they also, like Harbor Freight makes a little sheet metal brakes that you can get. That would make it so much easier, and they're not that expensive, if I remember right. So yeah, I will cut this piece of metal out and bring you back and show you when I start bending it and what I do to make this piece. So, all right, guys. All right, so got my piece of metal cut out. I got a pattern on it, and you probably can't see it, but I use a pencil. And so I just threw this down here, just hold it down, go around the outside. And then what I do, since I've already folded this up, I come in next to each, let's put it where it's supposed to be, each area, and just make me a little line where it folds. That way when you're done, you can come back and take, because this is where it's going to be folded. Right there. So then you got your line right here. Okay. There's a tab right here. I've already done my little scribe line, or my lines. And some people use a scribe to do this. That's great, whatever. You can use Sharpies too, but just remember what side of your Sharpie you're going to cut on, because it leaves a bigger line. That's why I use a pencil, because it's really fine, and a scribe's the same way if you're going to use that. But like Sharpies, you can end up making your part a little, like if you don't get these lines just right and you cut to the inside and you make it too small, and it's not going to matter on this part because it's just a cover that covers your gas lines. So no big deal. It could be this freaking big, it wouldn't matter. But if you're trying to get it accurate to be just like the part for whatever, it has to fit in a tight spot or whatever, you need to be fairly accurate with your lines. All right, so this will give me a reference for my bend lines also when I'm putting it in my little break. Oh, sorry, excuse for a break. It is what it is. You use what you got. You run what you brought. I think that's it. So I've got an ear here. The rest of that is, and you can, you know, I've bent that back up, but you can lay it back down there and make sure that it's gonna go back exactly the way you want it to. So anyway, that's gonna be that. And so I'll bring you back. I've got to cut all this out, which I get it close with these. Like I say, you have to use whatever you got. I don't know what you have, but like these shears, I just get it close.
use a disc, flat disc, whatever you want to use to get this right on the money. And get the other just get it. Definitely not a precision tool. At least not in my hands. Might be for somebody. And watch these things, they'll slice you up. I was going to bring it back, but
you can get this sheet steel just about anywhere. You can go to Home Depot. I wouldn't suggest it because you're going to buy a small piece for like some stupid price. And so you can buy a 4x8 sheet of it for something like that, and it'll last you forever. This piece I've pulled off of it for a long time. So some Makita nibblers that I'm thinking about buying. I watched some guys use those, and man, they look really good, but they're like freaking $300. So one of those deals is like, well, I don't use them that often, so do I really want to spend that kind of money for something I'm not going to use very often, you know? So anyway, so you can come back and, like I said, just, or you can use these. These are made by Wiz. I would suggest buying some good ones if you're going to buy some, because the cheap ones don't work. It's like I had a little into that one, a little too far. Just cut it, so no big deal. Let's see. Yeah, so I can come back around and do some of these corners and stuff like that with these. And just keep on going. And then if I want, I can take an angle grinder or a grinder or whatever, and I'm just kind of give you a quick idea of what I'm doing. So hopefully that helps you. And then when I start to bend this, I'll bring you back for that. All right, another handy tool is this right here, belt sander. This is a clutch. You can get it at Northern Tool. These are really, really good. They got variable speeds and everything, so it's really good for doing this intricate kind of work, just little tedious stuff, like having to make, if you're trying to be that accurate, to cut it in. Trying to make the edges nice and come in here and kind of knock the edges off of it, both sides. Knock the big birds off. It gets into these tight edges like that, whereas stuff like this tries to rip the paper or rip the sandpaper. So yeah, there's that. One thing you definitely want to do is clean your metal before you start painting it and going on and doing all that. I'm going to bend this up just a little bit because I don't want to lose my lines. So we'll go ahead and do that. Grab my other glove. I try to stop handling the bare metal after I clean it. I try to use gloves all the time because you're going to get your body rolls and stuff in it. I used to do paint and body, and so that's where I learned a lot of this stuff. I say used to, I still do, but I don't do it. I was doing it for a job for a while. Basically learned what I needed to know and then built my own shop and went my own way. So, got your line in there. Just gonna slide this in, line it up with that sharp edge and the edge of whatever metal you've got. I've got better than this, but this works for what I'm doing. I've got a little dimple right there that's holding that up. And you can use this to do this. Well, I'll show you in a minute. We're gonna bend that up. Make sure you bend it the right way because you're gonna be pissed if you don't. So freaking pissed. White girls, if you don't know where that came from. Try to get in there as close as you can to the area that you're bending. And then, like I said, just get underneath it and just start kind of pushing it up. And you're gonna get it close. It's just thin sheet metal. So that's as far as I'm gonna go because I'm gonna come in here and DA it and make it look really, really nice and get my tooth in it for my paint. You want to have an 80 grit tooth in your metal all the time when you're doing this, so so your paint will stick or your primer will stick to it. So what I'll do is I'll come back in, and that's what I was going to say, use a piece of this or whatever, come back in and flatten it out, and I'll show you that here in a second. I got to bend the rest of these up, so better do this one. Some of these I won't, you don't even really have to use this. If you got something like this, you can just bend it over. I can show you how to do that one. I'm not gonna do it on this big one, I'll do it on the smaller one. But you can if you don't have the, you know, whatever you, if you can't access something like that. Don't like where that's sitting. Put that back underneath there better. Get a straighter bend on it. Another thing you can do, if you've got like stuff like this, a lot of people don't, but I mean they're not that expensive. But you can actually take and clamp onto it right on your line. And then you'd want it on the table and then you'd bend it up basically. And just give it a bend like that. But you can do that also, another way to bend it. So, best way is to have a break. All right. So this one goes the other direction, so it goes down. So I need to spin it over. And I need to make sure I leave a little bit out on that one. So this one goes there, and then this one actually comes out just a little bit. I need to mark that on this side. All right. Yeah, that's right. Close enough. Like I said, I probably went a little too far, but you see how round that is? When I come back and put this here, I'll actually sharpen that down. Here, let me show you how I do that. And like I said, you can do it on whatever piece of steel you have. I happen to have this. And it works really well. Looks like right about there. See, I'm going off the metal and then down, trying to form it the way I want it to go. So make your edge, you can make it sharper if you want, just keep going. Make that edge as sharp as you want. So that's that. And so I'm going to clean it with isopropyl alcohol. I use 70-30 isopropyl alcohol and get all the grease off of it, because these panels are going to come with cosmoline or some kind of something, and it's going to have this nastiness on it. So you want to make sure that you clean them good. Because oil doesn't stick to paint for some reason. Paint doesn't stick to oil, what I meant to say. And I always use this isopropyl. You can buy waterborne wax and grease, but if you look at the ingredients, it's almost identical. The only difference is they put a little bit of acetone in the waterborne wax and grease. Other than that, it's isopropyl alcohol and water. And so just do this until it's nice and clean. And then I'm gonna take a DA with 80 grit paper and make this thing look like a piece of something, a piece of jewelry. So kind of gives you an idea. You can come back in and bend these up after you do that. But why I'm doing that is because you can't get into the creases really good with something like this to etch it up if you bend it all the way up. So, at least in my experience. I don't know which way this one bends. I'll have to look at it. I think it may go straight underneath and attach, and this attaches to the other piece that I made actually. And I made my hole, or popped a hole here and a hole here through this right here, because I already pre-marked my little areas. So just went in and took one of these punches and popped it. I can just come back in and drill my holes. So literally, I mean, I'm gonna keep going, get this done, but that's pretty much it. And it's not that hard, guys. So, you know, if it's sheet metal and you need it, just make it. Unless they make it now. They make it because it's gonna take you several hours to do. And if they make it, you could probably buy it for 30 or 40 bucks. So then that's the best way to go, obviously. So, all right, I'll bring you back when I get it a little bit farther along. All right, there it is. So you kind of watch me do that. And basically just do by hand. Make sure after you sand this down, you clean it off again with isopropyl alcohol, and make it. Uh-oh, I missed a side. Need to get that off there. So yeah, gotta go back over that. But yeah, that's what you're looking for, something like that. A good tooth, good 80 grit tooth. And let me show you how this thing will set on there. It actually attaches to this part and comes up basically where those two holes are. It goes right to the back side of that. it'll go right basically like that. It'll come right up to, let's see, yeah. So then your lines, your gas lines go right up inside that. So I'll paint this same way I did this. So get you some Rust-Oleum self-etching primer. I really like this stuff. It's not, you know, it's not like, if you're gonna do it with epoxy. Like if you're gonna do Perfection, 2-part epoxy would be the way you go. But for this, man, this is whatever. High performance enamel seems to be pretty good. It should last for a good long time. And if something happens, you can always just get under there and shoot another coat on it or whatever, no big deal. This is weld through primer because I'm going to weld this on. Leave this side because I don't want to, there's no reason to put weld through because nothing will stick to weld through. You don't, so you sandwich these pieces together basically. And so you don't ever want to try to paint over weld through. And you can follow me on YouTube. I've got like 600 and some odd videos showing how I built this car and other cars and stuff like that. But that kind of gives you an idea of how I go about stuff like this. And a lot of people are like, well, can you make those for me or whatever? It's like, look, it's not cost effective for me. Now, if I had a die where I could just stamp this like they do at AMD and different places like that, then yeah, it'd be great. And you could, and why they don't, I have no idea. Well, it probably cost. May not be advantageous for them on Jeeps at this point because a lot of guys just fold theirs under, which if you do that, be careful. I mean, it's fine. Just make sure you seal it up because anytime you sandwich 2 pieces of metal together, guess where it's gonna rust? Between those 2 pieces of metal, and as you seam seal those edges. So, yeah. It'll rust. This literally fell off when I took this outer panel off. This just completely fell off. The only thing was holding it up was these 2 screws. So, yep, I'll hit that with some etch primer, let it dry, hit it with some of the, that's satin black or semi-gloss black. You can go flat black if you want, whatever you want to do. You can paint it pink for all I care. But I hope that helps somebody. I appreciate you guys watching, and yeah, if you're wanting to do this, I know there's a couple of guys on there like, man, I'd like to be able to do that. It's really not that hard. So, all right, guys, we'll talk to you next time. See you.